All right, guys. Well, moving into the last half of the show here, and I'm gonna tell you what. Right now, this is going to be a fun one. We have Mr. Ed Ensor that's going to be on here. I seen backstage. We're going to bring him on here in just a few minutes, and I can't wait. We're going to talk about Sick Week. We're going to talk about his drag and drive history. This dude has like 8 years or 9 years of being a co-pilot for a class winning racer. Like, he hasn't raced all this time. He's been a co-pilot. Like, and I think that's where Jonathan and him are going to have a lot in common. They're going to be able to talk about a lot of stuff because Jonathan's been a co-pilot a lot of times, probably almost as many times as he's been a pilot in these things.
About half. Like,
Yeah,
I've done 21 now, so and seven as a co-pilot.
man, that is so crazy. Well, let me thank some sponsors real quick, and we'll get into all this stuff. So let's kick off this part here. DeatschWerks is a leading manufacturer of high performance fuel system components. They are also the official fuel delivery of Drag Drive Repeat. The DW line includes fuel injectors, fuel pumps, pump modules, fuel rails, regulators, filters, lines, and fittings, and surge tanks. Anything you need to support power levels from 400 to 2200 horsepower. Since its founding, DeatschWerks has been committed to delivering quality, innovation, and hang on, sorry, I'm trying to get the picture pulled up here. I want to show you this one right here. This is freaking awesome. Since its founding, DeatschWerks has been committed to delivering quality, innovation, and precision to the automotive performance industry. Every DeatschWerks product is built to maximize reliability and efficiency, which is important in drag and drive, ensuring optimal fueling solutions for racers, tuners, and performance enthusiasts worldwide. With a focus on engineering excellence and industry-leading customer support, DeatschWerks continues to drive the future of high-performance fueling. This setup right here, this triple fuel pump module for 2011 to 2024 Mustangs, bro, 1700 horsepower. Come on. This is the kind of stuff I think that helps move things forward because like somebody can just take this, they can put a big Whipple or a set of twins on a 2011 to 2024 Mustang, and then suddenly, oh hey, you just drop this in and it works. It's crazy,
It,
man.
it takes a lot of fab work out of some of the cars too. That's
Yeah, retains factory surge features. All that kind of stuff is really, really cool. So big shout out to DeatschWerks who came on board for this year. 2025 is our newest sponsor, and I can't wait to have one of them on. Which I think we're planning a time in March. Um, I don't know if I can say. I'm not going to say who it is, but there is an 850 class leading racer that just started working at DeatschWerks, and that should be announced in the next few weeks. Um, that is so smart that like he won and done an 850 at events in 2024. So that's all I'm going to say about it. Couple days had a turbo issue, 850s with one and done each day. Absolutely crazy. I can't wait to kind of pick his brain and see how we can make fueling better for drag and drive racers with DeatschWerks. It's gonna be so cool. All right, let me jump back here. Let's thank some. Thank you, race car friends. Again, I love you guys. We can't do this without you. We're gonna go over tonight, so get comfortable, grab another adult drink, and get ready. There's no way we can have Ed Ensor on here and not last longer than this. We can't do it without you guys. Hit the share button for us, please. Thank you to our sponsors. Obviously, I mentioned DeatschWerks, Summit Racing, Molly Motorsports, Driven Racing Oil, Howard's Cams, J-Wire Solutions, WAF Racing, Performer Built Transmissions, Car Change 3D, Power Tube TV, Sweet Patina, and Racing Junk Classifieds. If you are spending money, please jump over there and try and do it with them. We would appreciate that. And, you can always say, hey, we saw you guys on the Drag Driver Pete show, and we would certainly appreciate that nod there. And the gentleman's agreement is this. You guys, I need you. You need me. I hope. I'm going to keep doing this because I love it, but I need you guys to hit that follow or subscribe button. Wherever you're watching this, we've had great numbers all night, lots of comments. Wherever you're watching this, if you're not following us or subscribe to us, please do that. That's all I ask, right? I'm going to keep doing this because I love it, but that would be a huge help from you guys. I can't verify that you do that, obviously, and that's where it's a gentleman's agreement. I'm going to do this, you do that. We'll live on. And then PowerTube TV, guys, all this stuff that we do over here ends up on PowerTube TV somewhere. I love it. They actually have helped us gain a lot of subscribers. So if you haven't downloaded the PowerTube TV app, you need to do that. They also have a YouTube channel, tons of content over there. Pinks All Out, Pastime, which are all coming back for 2025. They got a big Power Fest coming. But if you are a small creator, or if you are a creator at all and want to, introduce your stuff to a whole new audience, PowerTube TV is a great way to do that. They have a content creator program like what we're involved in, and it helps get your word out there, helps get, you are in front of more people. And they have a podcast dedicated channel, which is cool because that's really what we push for them, is all this podcast stuff or live stream stuff for us. All righty. Again, DeatschWerks, shout outs to them. Let's I think, let me do this ad read for WAF Racing, or play the video real quick, and then we're going to bring on Ed Ensor for the first half. I promise. I'm trying to get to this. Fro, I'm gonna start the video now.
Have you ever wished you could fit your toolbox in the palm of your hand, or really needed that extra set of hands while making a jet change at the track? At WAF Racing, we specialize in designing and manufacturing top-tier automotive tools that are made strong to withstand travel, yet lightweight not to slow you down. Tested in-house and at the track by the team at WAF Racing, every part is made by racers for racers. From compact toolkits, carburetor top hats, or spark plug storage containers, our tools are precision engineered and manufactured in the USA. Made of the strongest materials, every piece strikes the perfect balance of durability and dependability. Maybe you need something custom just for you. We do that too. You need WAF Racing in the passenger seat for your next drag racing event. Head over to wafracing.com today to take your racing experience to the next level. WAF Racing. Design, build, race.
Man, I love Chris and the whole team at WAF Racing. They came to the circuit. They're coming back for 25, and the quickest carburetor average gets $300 and an entire WAF Racing deal and a custom trophy that he's having built by somebody that builds really cool trophies. All right. Stoney told me earlier that he may fangirl just a little bit at this because Mr. Ed Ensor is the quickest naturally aspirated car in drag and drive history. This guy came in and laid it down last year at Six Summer. This year or Six Summer 23, maybe this year at Sick Week, 7.0s like clockwork, ended up with a 7-second low 7.07, something like that, 7.09 average for the week at Sick Week, 800 miles in a car that he drove 45 miles an hour and had to stop every 18 or 22 miles and burned 200 gallons of race fuel. This dude is an animal. I would like to say him and I are friends now because I spent so much time with him, having him talk into the camera during Sick Week. I can't wait for this. It's going to be a good time. So, Mr. Ed Ensor, please, everyone, help us welcome him in here. I'm pumped about this, man. You're one of the, you're a pioneer in this drag and drive, naturally aspirated, front running. Hey, can I pat you on the back anymore?
I don't know. First off, thanks for having me. Definitely looking forward to it. So hopefully I can answer some questions and tell you what it's all about.
Yep. I'm excited about this because what really kind of kicked off this relationship that, obviously I knew who you were. I knew the car, all that kind of stuff leading up to it. But, you were nice enough to be like, hey, I'm fixing to start the car. You should get some content of this. And you're like, hey, what would be like, there needs to be more naturally aspirated content out there. I see Jerry Sweet in here making comments and stuff. Thank you all for coming in here. Another big heavy hitter in the naturally aspirated game. And man, there's so much spinning in my head, but I just want to say thank you for being so welcoming. You and Jimmy both into the pits. You guys would stop what you were doing, which turning that car, we're going to talk about it in a minute, but getting the car race ready, getting the car street ready is real. I mean, it's time consuming and you have to be detailed. So, you make a list, but you guys were always welcoming. Anytime I came over, you stopped what you were doing when it was a good spot to stop and gave me a few minutes. And I appreciate that a whole lot.
Well, we definitely appreciate, you coming around and, paying attention to what we are doing, because we're just a small part of the show, but it definitely feels good to see, a lot of fans and different racers, appreciate, what we're trying to do. I'm not saying it's probably not the easiest thing, but we're definitely trying. And I actually feel like the way it was all covered, we're actually getting a lot of good coverage from it and a lot of good, positive feedback, which is good because, it doesn't matter if you're, a 6-second car or if you're a 13-second car. We're all out there trying to do the same thing. And sometimes, it's just as hard with, a 12-second car. So, we all do it because we love it, and some do it for other reasons. But, most of all, it's, definitely a challenge. And most of all, you meet a lot of good people. So that's what kind of keeps me going, do it because, everybody has their own reason, right? But I chose to do it in the naturally aspirated world, which sometimes I, think that might not have been the right choice, but it's where I'm in, so.
Well, Jonathan says this, has had this conversation with me in the past, is that, most folks can build a 7 or 8 second turbo setup, right? In that world, you're kind of there, you're one in a lot. There's a lot of people that kind of run that with that. And Jonathan also lives by Mother Nature's atmosphere as well in a lot of his cars. And he said, you can be one of a few to go fast with the naturally aspirated car.
And
Well,
that's where you guys really stand out with you and Jimmy because you people have gotten so to where you look at a 7-second car and it's become the norm now to where it didn't used to be. But then when you walk by and you see the car doesn't have a power adder, that's not the norm. I mean, you guys are probably what, like you're one of 4 7-second cars, but you're the fastest.
well, every dog has his day, right? And
Yeah,
so, I mean, saying you're the fastest, yeah. For today, right? There's always somebody
yeah,
better. There's always somebody coming around the corner, to
yes,
take. But we've worked hard at it to get where we're at, and there's one slight problem. When we took the car back out, back in 23 for the first time, everybody thought it was, it's a fluke, and I'm not going to lie. I had never driven the car until we left Cordova for 6 summers. But,
yeah,
being around it long enough, you think you know what's going to work and what's not going to work. But, so from day one, since I brought that car out, it had a bullseye on its back. But, obviously throughout the last year, we did a lot of testing and I tried a lot of new things. And obviously I wanted to do better, the second time out with the car, and it worked out, and I'm not going to say it was easy. I'm not going to say, you don't need to have luck on your side. Cause I mean, that was a little bit more than what I probably wanted. I'm not going to lie to you. We started out, behind the 8 ball when, down south they got that weather, and I wanted to go down there testing a little early, and they got snow. Which, come on, snow down in Georgia, Florida, so that
yeah.
for a curveball. But it surely wasn't quite. It was a little bit more than what I kind of signed up for, only because, man, we just never got ahead of the game. We were behind the 8 ball from day one, and from day zero, let's call it day zero, we were behind the 8 ball. It rained all day. So, man, we just battled and battled, and it was an uphill battle. And the reward at the end was definitely great. But if I had to do it all over again like that, I don't know if I'd sign up. And I don't think
Right.
Well,
after the second day, he finally said, Ed, we do need to get some sleep. I can go 2 days with no sleep, but I ain't going 3.
Yeah.
yeah,
When he said that,
you guys had it hard.
oh, it was
So
tough.
one of
Yeah.
the conversations we talked about was day one. You guys, and I want to talk about the rocker arms later, but you didn't leave the track day one until like 8 o'clock or something like that, right?
Yeah, and that I'm going to tell you that right there set the tone for the week, unfortunately. And it was about 8:30, and I'm packing the trailer, finishing it up at the very end, and he's finishing up the rocker arms. And I'm thinking, man, this probably doesn't make a lot of sense. This is the latest I've ever left in 14 drag and drives. I'm usually at the hotel by 8:30 at night. Okay. This surely isn't what I'm looking to do. And, but we were there. I put all the work into it for a year testing, and
Mhm.
like, man, I can't give up yet. So, it was either do or die, right? So we said we're gonna give it a whirl, and I'm not gonna lie, I-75 really was the first thing on the radar. So it was either going to go good or it was going to go bad or it was going to be short. And, we ended up hammering down the interstate literally all night long with, no hotel and zero sleep. The hotel and, it just was tough to recover from that. I'm not 18 years old anymore. So let's face it, it's not what I wanted to do, but it worked out. So,
well, and you think, so for people that don't know, the first leg of Sick Week was 300 plus 320 miles. And you and I were talking, you're like, I've factored in, this is like a 65-gallon trip. And you didn't change fuel cells, so your race fuel, you're filling it with race fuel, and you're keeping your race fuel cell, which is what, 5 or 6 gallons, maybe.
Yeah, I mean, it may be 6.5, but here we're putting 5 gallons in at a time. So whatever that works out to be, it actually worked out. That highway drive actually worked out better than expected. We got about a little over 5 miles to the gallon. And yeah, you are correct. I had 62 gallons figured, and you got to remember, I'm my own gas station. So I started off with a 1,600-pound trailer, so that trailer, and then you look at the car, it's like, man, nothing's really making a lot of sense here. But we burned through a lot of fuel and we went through it fast. So obviously the trailer got lighter. But I mean, I had it calculated down to the last, what was in the tank when we pulled into Bradenton is all we had left. Because I raced it on, Q16, and then I drive it on, C12, C14. And I mean, we were down. I mean, it worked out. Let's put it that way.
And you're not picking that up at a gas station at 3 a.m. as you're cruising down through there.
No.
Yeah.
But it worked out. The most important thing was, we didn't run into any problems that night, because if we would have ran into problems, we would have never made it there on time, because I think we rolled in there about 6:45. And man, I don't even remember the last time I stayed up all night long. So now to conquer what we just did, now we got to figure out how to put the thing back together and get it ready, so when they call us to the lane. So
so getting there, you're in the say you're in your pits by 7:15, whatever, right? What's the turnaround time on that car from street mode to race mode?
Well, rested up and being sharp, I think we can do it in 2 to 2.5 hours, let's call it. Okay. But when you're not, on your game and pretty much, wiped out, you're not really thinking the best. Right. So that really was something that we had to adapt, because him and I, were pretty thorough. I mean, super thorough. And we were second guessing ourselves on some stuff. And I'm not going to lie. I mean, when we got to Bradenton there, we were behind, but then when they called us to the lanes, we weren't quite done. And I mean, I needed to change the spark plugs. You can call it whatever. Like I said, you can call it lazy, you can call it out of time, but we were just wiped out. And when they called us, we said, you know what, we're going to take a chance at it. And it probably wasn't the right choice, because obviously that was the only day we had to make 2 passes. We had to come back and wait, and put the plugs in it. But it is what it is, right? No excuses, but it was definitely a challenge, because we weren't clicking the way we were when we were fully rested, And you don't think it matters, but it matters. And I'm telling you, and I mean this, Jimmy is the guy that is meant for me on that deal, because I mean, first off, without him next to me, it's not going to happen. Okay. Because I'm pretty tough to deal with, first off. Secondly, I'm pretty driven, so I'm not going to give up. And Jimmy is like, no complaints. He goes with the flow, never complains. And he's always got my back. And that right there there's no price on it. Right. Because I've been, and I know friends, and that, halfway through leading to things, and things go the wrong way, and somebody's sick or you don't get food, you know, whatever, you're only as good as people you're around. And I'm fortunate enough. I mean, he's been with me 2011. I did that was my second drag week, and Jimmy was my co-pilot back then. And he's just a good, and it's not about Ed. It's about, you know, who Ed's around, because Ed's got a lot of good people around him. And I'm fortunate enough Jimmy's one of them, because, man, that guy, he don't say 5 words sometimes. And people say, man, Eddie's so quiet. Yeah, but he's just that guy. And I'm very fortunate that he's on my side, because like I said, not everyone's going to put up. And like I said, he didn't even complain after the no sleep, but he did say 3 days, Ed, we can't do this because we're going to the hospital. You know, right? Because I didn't want to go 3 days with no sleep. So, but at the end of it, it worked out, you know. So, but,
well, and one thing that Jonathan and I talked about quite a bit was like, was your powertrain. So I want to ask a little bit about that, what engine stuff, because it's a 632 cubic inch, right? But
correct.
Jonathan was telling me it's not like a traditional big block Chevrolet, or so the way you do the stroke and bore sizes may be different than what they would do.
Correct. So I've had different cranks in the motor. You know, it started life as a bigger engine. And here's the thing, you can have all the torque in the world, but when you're still on this 10-inch tire, I mean, that's a common denominator for me, at least. Okay. I'm not, you know, there's better people out there, right? So there's guys that go a lot faster with small tires, but when we're here in the Midwest, we don't get to always test that, you know, unless we go over to Martin, Michigan, which we have been fortunate enough. But more torque doesn't always mean better for me. Okay. So we try different combinations, different cranks, trying to get the thing. I mean, I want it to run up top more because I'm pulling so much power out down low. So why more torque, right? So we've tried combinations, and Jimmy's the brains behind that. I'm just, you know, it's my deal, my car, my stuff, but we bounce stuff off each other, and he built it the way he wanted to build it, and it was happier. I could utilize more of what I had, you know, so it's working better for this combination. So it's not I mean, yes, I've got other 632s, and it's just a simple deal that it works for me. You know, there's better ones, or maybe there's ones that make more power, but for what I'm trying to do and drive it and do what I'm doing, this one works for me, you know.
Right. That made me think of I wish I had a picture of the front end off. Here, it's on our Facebook page for anybody that hasn't seen it yet. There's this cute little radiator that's up front. It's about this big. It's just tiny, right? But you guys completely swap over the cooling system too. Like when you're talking about 2.5 hours, like I mean, there's a lot that goes into that swap over. So
Well,
for people that understand, like they may say, oh, it's just tires. It ain't just tires.
right. And here's the thing. Do I have to do all of that? No. Okay. But here's the deal. You have no time limit. So as long as I get there and make my passes, what does it matter if I do 5 hours of turnaround or if I do 1 hour? Okay. And no, there's no rule against it. Okay. So I, you know, chose the way I wanted to do it because that's the way I want to do it. And could you go, you know, a different route? Sure. And I've got my other car that I've done different routes, but this deal here, I wanted to do it the way here, you can do it with bigger cubic inches and try to have more power, or you could do it the way I'm trying to do it. And it just seems to work for us, you know.
Yeah.
I'm not saying it's the best way, because there's a lot smarter people out there than me, but it's just the way I want to do it. And what else am I going to do? I mean, yes, it's nice to not, maybe if we wouldn't have got behind, the week would have been unbelievably awesome, you know, because we would have had time to stand around, but we got behind from day one and just never caught up. And that's what people don't understand. It's so hard to catch up. And man, oh man, it was just it was just tough, you know. And the way I have done it for so many years, being a co-pilot with my buddies, and the success we had doing it, man, there was times we were racing at 9 in the morning and on the road by 10:30. We were one of the first 5 cars down the racetrack. We were on the road by 10:30 and at the hotel at 4:30 or 5. So this was like the total opposite of what I wanted it to go as, but it all worked out, you know. And But even with the changeover, it's not life or death. I mean, it's not that big a deal if everything's going good, but you just can't overcome the time sometimes when you have, issues. And the first day, and I'm not knocking, I mean, it was awesome. 385 entries, 200 plus sick ward guys. I mean, fans all over the place. And
Mm-hmm.
still managed to get through the first day, and they had a great plan. The sick team had a great plan. They had, they were going to get rid of maybe 100 cars if they would have let them run, if we could have ran on day 0. And that was a great plan, but it just didn't work out with Mother Nature, with all the rain they had. So it was just one of the first time in 14 years that I've ever been in that position, but we adapted and we overcame. So
Mm-hmm.
that's a big plus to, Jimmy next to me, and, the dedication and the commitment to trying to be the best we can,
Oh yeah, for sure. And then transmission, you run a Power Glide with no overdrive, right?
Well, yes, I run Proformance Trans builds to transform me. They're Power Glides. I have a few of them. I do have other Mustangs with gear vendors in them. This particular one does not, and I wish I would have put it in maybe before that week, only because of the interstate. But here again, I'm going to do it the best I can do it. So if I can be 40 pounds lighter, I'm going to sacrifice and go slower on the road, so that's just by choice, not because one's better than the other, but in this car, that's just what I have set up as,
Mm-hmm.
no gear vendors, but that's not saying I won't put one in it.
Yeah.
I don't think the 40 pounds is going to hurt the car. There's chances you put the weight in the right spot. Sometimes you go faster, right? So we'll see. I need to try it. I need to go test it and see, what we think of it.
Well, for folks that are watching this on YouTube and Facebook and stuff, the car is gorgeous. I want to know a little bit of the history. What like how long have you had it? How did you come across this car?
So I've had it basically 4 years, and I found it. It was a gentleman that was obviously doing a max effort build, and he never finished it. Him and his partner, it was a sad story, and he ended up with the car without his partner, and he lost his sidekick. So at the end of the day, he had a car that he didn't know pretty much, what he had and how to run it. And he kind of lost interest in it. Right. So I was at the right spot at the right time. It was not finished. My wife and I drove all the way down to North Carolina flew down. I flew down the first time and made the deal the next day when I saw the car. And then my wife and I went and picked it up the following week, or, within some time. But it started life as a 85 Fox body Mustang convertible, Hunt racecraft. I mean, I can't say enough. I saw the car. I'm like, yeah, this is what I'm looking for. And it was exactly what exactly what I wanted as a foundation, but obviously I had to finish it, put my spin on it, and do it the way I wanted it. But unbelievable car. And, so I got it. It took me about a year to get it finished. I needed, it was going to be a, class car. It was built with, stock suspension, stock frame rails to meet the rules, but it was built for the rules, where this guy wanted to go play. And I didn't really have any use for it. I was just going to do some 8th mile racing here local, maybe, I've had, I think, maybe 21 Fox bodies throughout my years. So I'm a Fox body guy. So it was something I had to have, right? So I piddled around with it, still playing with my other car, my red car. And then finally, one day I'm like, you know what? Sick week was out and Sick summer was out. And I'm like, man, I think I'm going to try Sick summer with this thing. Something caught my interest, and I'm like, I'm going to try to do it. So I just, finished the car the way I wanted it, and we debuted it at Sick summer,
Yeah.
That was the goal behind it. But I was just at the right spot at the right time, to find the car, and it was something I could make what I wanted.
Yeah, the car is gorgeous. One thing that Jonathan and I talk about all the time is just how nice your cars are. Kind of tell us about keeping it clean too, because that's the other side of driving hard on stuff.
You know what? 100% what you said. It's a lot of wear and tear. It's a lot of it's a lot of everything, because you have the elements, you have just so many different things to go with it, right? But here's the thing with myself. I want a show car, then I'll worry about the race car. Okay. Because first that's just what I am. Okay. So I mean, put a lot of effort. That's why I say it took me a while to get it the way I wanted it to take it the way, out to race it. But here's the thing that most people don't understand. It's great. It's fun. And I do love it, and I'm passionate about it, but it is a lot of work, because like right now it's completely it's tore down to nothing. The engine's on the stand, and I mean, I disassemble it all. I'm talking everything. Okay. But that's just me, but that's my hobby. This is what I enjoy. So I try to make them, so I can take them to the car shows, drive them with my family, drive them with my kids. I enjoy that. So, but with that, man, it just seems like it's 24 hours a day, especially drag and drives, because I want it clean in the morning. I want it to look the last day like it did the day I unloaded it out of the trailer. But sometimes you got to sacrifice, but that's why, it's never ending. And that's what, most people don't understand. This is 7 days a week. I'm working on these cars in my spare time. Obviously I got a full-time job, but, the only one who really understands that's probably my wife and my family, because they live it daily, and that's by my choice. And I'm lucky enough to do it, but it would be easier if I just looked at it as a race car, but I just can't do that. So that's me, but
Well, it's gorgeous. I'll tell you that much. It's a great color. It looks amazing. It's one of the nicest cars in all of drag and drive, and you treat it like it is. Like it's always wiped down. It's always nice.
Well, I appreciate that, but there's always somebody that's got something nicer. But I put a lot of effort into it, and that was kind of the funny thing when I brought my red car out in 2000 and I don't know, 21 maybe, 1320. Kyle and his crew, they did a real nice deal on my red Fox body, and that was pretty cool to see, because somebody else noticed it, and that's the deal. I mean, it's a full-time job. If you want it that way, I mean, there's no rubber in them wheel wells. I mean, it's
That's awesome.
no, it's a sickness, but hey, you know what? There's things I can.
Well, yeah, we're glad you're into this and not drugs.
Well, hey, but this one might be more expensive. I don't know. But
yeah. Well, one thing,
it could be worse. There's a lot worse to be doing.
Yeah. One conversation we did have, I think it was on day 0, was about your preparation with like torque converters and tires and things like that. Can you talk on torque converter change? Like I think you said you had 7 or 9 or something like that torque converters that you had tested in that car leading up to the event.
Well, there's no doubt about that. And and that's the one thing I'm fortunate enough, I'll take the time and I'll go rent a track, or I'll go to my local tracks, and that's where Jimmy's got a full-time job building these engines, and I can't always pull at Jimmy and say, hey, I want to go try this, because I mean he's got to make a living too, right? So I'm fortunate enough that my kids and my family, my son-in-law, we'll go, 3 of us we'll go, and I'll test for the day. And I'm not going to lie, there'll be a day I'll change rear ends right at the track. I'll change torque converters right at the track. And we may go 6, 7 numbers slower. We may go a tenth slower. Sometimes we may find 1 number or 2 numbers. I mean, I got on a deal with, FTI converters. I mean, they were shipping me converters weekly, and we were trying different stuff. So it got to the point where they're just sending the label with the converter. So it's like, send it back, do this, so I've been fortunate enough to put the effort and get hooked up with the right people to keep trying new stuff to make it better. Because here's the deal. When you got NA, it's hard to find, it, 1 or 2 numbers, let alone a 10th. So that was just plain, trial and error. And you can study the data, you can do whatever, but sometimes until you put it in, you don't know what you have. So we tried more strange engineering. I think they built me 6 different center sections. I mean, I've got light ones, I got heavy ones. I've tried all gear ratios. I've turned the motor from, I'll tell you, 7,400 to 9,000 RPMs. I've tried all different deals with this thing. And I'm not going to, the most important thing is I wore out a complete engine testing this deal. Literally over 120 passes. So,
Wow.
I mean, and that's in one whole summer. So people, whatever, the results are because of one thing. It's work, and it's trying different stuff and trying to find what, every car is different. Everybody, you got to find what the car wants, right? So I feel it's over exceeded my expectations. I didn't expect the car to go that. I mean, when we took it to six summer in 23, I think we were running 40s. But that was literally the first time with that combination. And then I tried different stuff. And I mean, that's just whittling away to get it to where it's at. I never dreamed the car would go into sixes. I mean, with the power it makes and the weight of the car, I mean, it's hard to run what them speed calculators say. And obviously I love chasing time slips. I love chasing the calculator. I love chasing all of it. And it's just, it's just a goal. So we just keep trying different stuff, and hopefully we stumble on some stuff. And we did, and we have, but sometimes we go 3 steps backwards, and then you it's
Yeah.
believe the bad days probably outweigh the good days. How does that sound?
Well, and I think that's your approach to, you take the same approach that I see in like the Pro Mod guys or the Top Sportsman guys that we do with the Midwest Drag Race series. Those guys are testing all different kinds of stuff when they're testing. They're going through all these things. You're probably one of the, I would say, the few drag and drive racers that do that. There's not a whole bunch of guys. They'll build a combo and then they kind of have fun with it. And maybe I'm just not seeing it, but you're one of the only guys that tests as much as that.
Well, it's because that's what I enjoy, right? I do this
Yeah.
for personal goals. I mean, we're not doing it for money, obviously. We're not
Yeah.
doing so I do it for my own personal goals. And there's nothing wrong with the guy that builds 11-second car and he comes out, because you know what? That guy's having a blast. And I've been there, and I've done that, and that's fun. And it doesn't matter how fast the car is. It's as long as you're doing what you want, right? So
Yeah.
I enjoy it. But the drag and drive back when I started this back in 07, it was nothing like it is today. And in the last 4 years, it's gotten even better and better. I mean, it's getting coverage. There's more events. You have, Sick the Mag now covering it. I mean, what Sick Team has done compared to what it has been, I mean, you can't say anything negative. I mean, how can you? Look at some of the caliber events and look at all these other ones that you guys are following that people are doing. So you got to get in kind of where you fit in, right? So if you have something in this drag and drive community, something for everybody, right? So some people are, look at what we're doing as, probably not the smartest thing, but then the next guy may think the other guy's doing the wrong thing. So there's something for everybody. And that's what's kind of cool about it, and that's what makes it definitely interesting, because that guy got that 11-second car. He might be working just as hard as what I am. You don't know that, so you just don't judge a book by its cover. And as long as they're having fun and you are, that's all that matters, right? I mean, look at the caliber of hardcore. It's changed over the last 15 years. There's some hardcore racers that have gotten into this game, and it's changed the result. I mean, I remember when Larson, Lutz, Bailey, them guys got on the scene. Okay. Now, if you can't see what's going on with Brett LaSala, Jim, Joe, I mean, the guys that surrounded by that crew over there at Motion Raceworks, I mean, come on. I mean, look what they're doing. I mean, the caliber of cars that are out here today and how fast they're going. I mean, it's getting out of control, but it's getting momentum and people are seeing it and people are joining it. And, look at the field of cars in Florida this year. I mean,
oh man.
I mean, come on. I'm just a small part of that. I'm lucky I'm even finishing the top 10, but man,
to do that naturally aspirated is pretty intense. Let me do this. Let me let's get into the performer built transmission segment of the show, and I want to talk about that. I want you and Stoney to kind of nerd out just a little bit. I don't understand a lot of the stuff. All I know is turn up the boost a little bit more, and so I want to talk about that. So let me do this ad read, and then we'll jump into that.
Okay.
All All right, Jonathan, give me just a second. Let me pull this up here real quick. Sorry, I'm putting you on the spot there. Here we go. All right. Performer Built Transmission is the official trans builder of the Drag Driver Pete Show. At Performer Built Transmissions, the goal is to engineer and build the toughest transmissions on the planet. Performer Built doesn't just rebuild transmissions, they systematically re engineer each model to eliminate OEM flaws and to achieve the highest levels of performance. That's why they say their transmissions are not just built, they're performer built. And I want to show off this new, I don't even know what this is. It's a new milling machine. I called Ryan earlier at Performer Built and I was like, bro, tell me what you're going to do with this. And he's like, we bought this and we're so excited because this is going to help us go to the next level with all of like the transmissions. Now, these guys mainly work in GM transmissions. 4L60 is kind of their claim to fame. They have the fastest 4L60 powered car in the world, and they're going to use this machine to make it even better. Like the conversation we had, he's going to talk about in a couple weeks. This is a big deal for them. This is a lot of money to be spent, and we just are so glad that Performer Built is on board with us because we get again the insight into what this stuff does, like why this is important, how you can make a 4L60 live behind Howie Price's 5,000-pound Oldsmobile or Buick wagon, and it just lives, and that car runs nines and getting twin turbos and all that kind of stuff. So I can't wait to hear all this, but I want a big shout out to Performer Built for getting a new product and piece and all that kind of stuff. So I'm excited to have them on board again for 2025. Okay, back to our regularly scheduled programming with Mr. Ed Ensor and Jonathan Sunside for Uncle Stoney down here below. Okay, I want to set the stage here with my first question, and this is probably probably a dumb question, but in this photo from Six Summer, there's the little scoop, like the plexiglass scoop we typically see. But if I flip back here, we see this scoop. So this is my first question: why different scoops? What was the change there? And did you need more airflow? Is that why this one's on compared to what was at Six Summer?
Well, you noticed it. So I actually tried 3 different deals, but so what I found, that setup has worked best for the combination I have actually. So I liked the old school bird catcher, which was fine, but Glass Tech being local and being in my backyard, I brought them over a hood and I said, hey, I'd like to, put this scoop on it, because obviously you watch by learning, right? So there's a reason back in the day, Pro Stocks had those big hoods or, the scoops. So I wanted to try, that setup. So Glass Tech did a scoop for me. We added it to one of my hoods, and it seems to be the best for what I'm doing. I also had another one with a flat deal where I had the intake manifold, the top changed so it was flush with the hood with no bird catcher. Okay. And tried that deal, and I actually put a lot of effort into that, and that was great to the 8th mile. Then it became a low pressure area, and then I lost speed in mile per hour. So but that's a good catch that you notice that I've tried basically 3 different hood configurations on the different combinations. So that's what I got going.
That's pretty interesting there to because obviously the big scoop, like the Pro Stock style scoop there, in my opinion, seems like it would allow more air into the area, all that kind of stuff. Wow, interesting. Yeah. Anyways, that was my first why is it? This was a shot from Six Summer 2024, I think during testing or something like that. Well, again, car looks amazing.
Well, I appreciate that, but the thing was, I wanted to try different things, but the one hood was like 9 pounds lighter, so I'm like, man, I like the lighter hood. Then I get the heavier hood, but then the heavier hood outperforms it, so it's like, So I change it up, I guess.
That's awesome. Well, one of the questions I think I have really is why naturally aspirated? Why go such a hard route? Because it's got to be the toughest way to go really fast. Like because you're literally limited to what Mother Nature can give you and how much air that motor can pump because you're not adding any, like there's no nitrous here. Like folks that are just coming in, you got to understand there's no, it doesn't have 3 stages of nitrous on this thing. He's not, it's not boosted by a supercharger or turbos or anything. Like this is literally what Mother Nature gives you and how you go fast. Why naturally aspirated?
That is a good question. Why naturally aspirated? Because, so I feel that's the lane I belong in. Okay. Somewhat of the, I belong in there more because I understand it more. I'm not going to lie. I've been a carburetor guy, all my life until I got this fuel injection, which was done by HCR Innovations, which was Devin Vanderhoof with the tuning. And it almost came so easy, and I'm anti-computer. So, but it's kind of hard, it's made it so easy with that. Okay. With the fuel injection. Okay. Cause I was old school carburetor and I loved it. I had great success. I ran a ton of, BRE carburetors and had good luck with it. But, the NA, it just seems, I fit in better with that only because I understand it. Okay. It's probably the simplest, but yet it is the hardest. Okay. I did nitrous back in 07. I did a nitrous car. I did a nitrous car in 11. But I like the challenge. And then when I was with Kurt Johnson for all those years, we, were NA, and I started, understanding it and liking it. So I went that route, and the best part about what you just said, why, no nitrous, no nothing. The funny thing is there's always somebody in the woods, with scuttle, right? Well, yeah. Is it NA? Is it this? Well, at the end of 6 week there, one of, I don't want to mention his name, but he come over and he had the car apart and wanted to make sure the car was naturally aspirated, and that's the best compliment basically for an NA guy because, everybody thinks where's the bottle hidden, right? So he had a fuel cell. I mean, he's taking lines out, the trunks out, and obviously if you've seen the car, you can see pretty much anything if you get up under inside of it. So that was the best reward because they all know it's NA, right? So that was big for him to look at it because I've seen at some drag drive events, naturally aspirated cars with nitrous bottles in the car. Now, I'm not saying it's hard to police when you have 300 plus cars, right?
Yeah.
But I've seen it with my own eyes. So
yeah, I thought NA meant nitrous assist.
Yeah, well, some people think that, but here at the end of the day, that was like there's many a guys, and I'll I want to mention Graham Hayes. I think he finished 3rd this year at Sick Week, and that guy came over and he said, "Hey, I'm gonna tell you something. I've been racing a long time, and to do it NA and go what you are, to hear some of the positive feedback by some real good racers, it finally set in that." They knew I was there for once. And you know what? That made me feel good. So that's why I stick with the NA. I think it's the challenge. Now, granted, you get like an elite or whatever. You get one of these big, big name teams. There's a lot smarter people out there than me. But at the end of the day, I like the NA. I feel I fit in with the NA. I somewhat understand the NA. And it just seems like, man, it is. It's like, you can't put a bigger nitrous jet. You can't turn the boost up. It's like, man, what you got is what you got, and you got to find it. And I'm that guy that just seems like I'm chasing them stupid numbers on that time ticket. But that's what I like to do,
Well, and that's what Jonathan says about it too, all the time. He's like, this is hard, but it really takes you have to methodically go into this and look at it that way.
Well,
the drive part.
Go ahead.
The drive part's the thing that really separates what we do from everything else, because I've co-piloted in a turbo car, and like our turnaround time is shorter with the turbo car, and mine's fairly short. Like I can turn my car around in 45 minutes to an hour, not nearly as long as what it takes to do yours, but like mine, the car has a lot more gear in it, and then I don't run an overdrive, and like my car, I've got it as light as possible. Same with what you've said, and I basically remove all the things that you don't need, like anything that you don't need, we just don't have.
Yeah, sound deadening.
Yeah. I'm surprised I'm hearing now, because after that, down the interstate, it seemed like your ears were just ringing and ringing and ringing.
Yeah,
But
So
I
I
can't,
met
can't
Jimmy.
imagine.
I met Jimmy in 2014 on Drag Week, and that's like with what you said. We man, day one went great. I could have put the car on my back and carried it to the next track, and then we had on day two we had a struggle and had the ignition box go bad, and we got behind and didn't get to the motel till like 3 in the morning, and then it set the tone for the rest of the week. It just seemed like we finished, but it was like we were on the struggle bus where, you know, we missed a couple turns because we were tired and, you know, just dumb little mistakes.
Well, but you're not alone in missing turns. I mean, I can literally tell you the second night after Bradenton, Jimmy said, "Hey, we're turning in a half mile. It's 4 in the morning, right? And we're seeing the light at the end of the tunnel to finally get sleep." And by God, that half mile came, and I must have just closed my eyes and I missed the turn. So now
Yeah.
we're out doing a damn U-turn at 4 in the morning, trying to get to the hotel for the first time in 2 days. So
Yeah.
I know exactly what you're saying, because
Yeah.
you don't catch back up, you know.
Yeah.
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 But that's, you start behind you, and it's for everybody. You
Yeah.
don't
Yeah.
get that is the thing about drag and drive. I don't care what class it is. If you're behind, it's hard to catch back up.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, and for guys that are our age, you can't miss 6 hours and be up for 30 and then try and catch back up in the same week. Jay Blanchard had a great question here. He says, Ed, do you swap out exhaust or add additional exhaust for the street drive? And then do you wear headsets?
Well, so no and no. So we don't swap the exhaust, and I've had the mufflers and the headers that go under the car, and I'm not gonna lie, I'm not a fan of that, because that just seems like it just rattles your ears forever. Okay, now I'm running the exhaust out, the side, and I think it's quieter in the car, and I think Jimmy would agree. But when we say quieter, it's still not good, right? But we probably should have put the headsets, because I have them from circle track racing in the day, but Jimmy doesn't want the headsets, and so we're not using them. We're going with just the basics, right? But we should have, because he's got to shout to tell me when the turns are, and so I probably should have them to answer the question, and that may be something in the future, because it would be just better. And then when you do get to the hotel, then your ears won't be ringing. So it probably isn't a bad investment, right?
Right. Well, I want to talk about one question that came to mind is like, how do you get a low 7 second naturally aspirated car to live? Like, are you and we can lead into the rocker arm thing, because that was what you guys changed on day one, and that's kind of what put you a little further behind, because you were going to change. The plan was to change rocker arms. I'm assuming to an easier ratio for the street and less wear and tear on stuff, and then change back to the heavy duty race ready rocker arms once you got to the track. But why did you do that? Was it a different ratio? Was it just a different material? You didn't think it'd live, or what?
So here's the thing with this. So this was the first time I did that. Okay. And I wanted to obviously do the best thing that we could do to keep the motor alive. So that was something that had been in the works for a while. And the goal was, okay, obviously to go down to Georgia there and test and run the race rockers, switch them. And then we thought about switching them every day, depending if we really needed to, right? So we, getting behind right away, we did change them after, Georgia that night, and you got us on the road later, but we chose to leave them on. So we, kept the street rockers on, the rest of the week. And it really didn't. Yes, you're killing the car with power down low anyway. It hurt the mile an hour, but if if somebody was chomping on my heels, then obviously we would have been changing them and trying to get the most every single day. But so the reason is obviously to control, try to make the camshaft and the springs trying to keep everything alive, because what we're doing is probably 100% not supposed to be happening, right? So the best scenario is to put the other rockers on, and I'm happy I have them, because obviously it's making everything smaller, trying to make it a little bit more streetable. And knock on wood, the car ran excellent with them. So I ran the rest of the week with them. We did put them on for Friday. The air got a lot worse on Friday, and the performance was the performance. And here's the thing, when you're doing that, that's just more chance for more failures, right? I mean, you start talking, you talk to somebody comes up, there's always fans that are interested. So it's just another opportunity to drop something that we're not supposed to drop. And you just hope it goes on the ground, not in the motor, right? So it's a risk and reward, right? But it worked out, so we didn't have to do it every night. But I would do it again. I would definitely do it again, because it stayed together. And after, upon further review, I'm going back to run it the way it is right now, because everything seems to be checking out. So it was just me being who I am. I would have kicked myself in the butt if I would have broken, didn't change them, right? So I'm trying to do, everything that I can to make it the best it can be. So, and at that point, after you're already in one day, everybody's watching. Some are hoping, whatever. So the key is, I want to succeed, because, I heard after 6 summer, the car won't drive, the car won't do this, whatever, but we made it work.
Yeah, you certainly did. I mean, 800 plus miles, 7 O's every day except day 5. And I think you turned in a 714 on day 5. And like, you guys were light years ahead of everything else. And that's not why you're on here. Like, you're not on here because you were a class winner. You're on here because I admire your level of testing, your commitment to a program. Dude, listen, you could probably go low 6s if you just put some boost to that car.
That all sounds good, right? But here's the situation with that. And trust me, I've been thinking it. The opportunities are there, but you better stay in your lane. First off, if you look at them heavy hitters up there, if you think for a second, I think I can go do that, right? Yeah, that sounds good on paper, because that's where it all begins, or it begins on the internet, and you start typing, you start talking, right? There's more to it than that, right? So with more horsepower becomes more problems. So, if you think you're going to go battle with Lutz, Larson, Bailey, Brett, Devin, and I mean, them guys are coming to play ball, right? And I've had some success, but I'm staying in my lane, right? So you always want more, but this is where I belong. I mean, one day, this has hit what I want, the goals, but we'll see what the next day brings, right? Because there's always somebody better. There's always somebody faster, right? But in the realm that I'm playing in, with the class that I'm in, in the NA class, I mean, it's an NA, car. It fits the rules. It's one of the 5 categories. So yes, can it be beat? Absolutely, it can be beat. There's always somebody faster, but it's for the kind of car that it is. It's still not a full-blown unlimited car with a long wheelbase and big tire. It's a genuine car. So, I mean, there's always better, but and there's room for improvement. I mean, but where do you draw the line, right? So, I mean, it's just where I fit. I mean, you're right. Could you put boost? Sure, you could. Okay, but with that, that's another learning curve, and you look around. You better. That's a pretty tough. You don't see what's going on and who's won the last 2. You better pay attention. That's all.
Right. Well, and I was talking to Brett. I'd heard maybe it was you that told me. I don't know, but somebody told me that he had something like 50 sensors on that car that weren't engine related.
Yeah, well, that doesn't surprise me. I met his guy Joe, one of the the main guys behind the scenes with that team. Joe, Jim, and Brett. I mean, and then you got Doug. I mean, you look at the corral of people there, right? So all I can say is good luck. Okay, If you think it's that easy, good luck, right? Because
Yeah.
it's not that easy. They make it look easy, but let
Yeah.
me tell you something. Them boys right there are coming to play ball, and they're in their own league, and that's just out of pure respect. And if you can't see it, that's all right. But there's always jealousy, right? But if
Yep.
that's nothing but respect, because them dudes come to play ball and they show it. So, and I'm trying to do that at my own level and where I'm at, but I belong right where I'm at. This is where I fit in. I've got NA cars. I've done, and this is where I enjoy. You get a elite or Richard Free. You get them kind of guys involved in this NA, they'll make me look silly. So there's always somebody better. There's always somebody angling. There's always somebody trying to beat you. But I do it for my own reasons, and this is where I belong.
Well, I want to back up. I want to talk about some history stuff. We've got a great audience here right now. I want to learn some, let's talk about your and Kurt Johnson's time, and then kind of what brought you back to race, you being the racer.
Well, so I started in 07 with one of a friend of mine's S10 pickup. I did a Pro Street Power Adder deal, and that was a car that I just drove. And then in 11, I brought my car, and Jimmy came with me, and we were on a little bit of we wanted to try a small block deal, and that was definitely interesting. We did a nitro small block deal, and I thought, oh, cool, we can compete with the small blocks. Well, whatever. Freiberger he didn't like my situation because they said you needed to have a set of stock spring. You had to have springs in the stock location. Well, I actually had 2 sets of springs. Okay. So he didn't see it the way I did. So they threw me in modified. So we ended up third overall with a little 360-inch small block, and we ran in modified. And it's funny, I look back at those records back then in 2011. Tom Bailey, Goldstone, which is a good friend of mine, and Schroeder, they were all in the same class. So when you look back in time, it's kind of funny to see what's been happening.
Yeah.
So then in 2011, I was, like I said, I was there with my stuff, and Kurt Johnson was there, and he's a great friend of mine. And he was running an NA deal, and him and McIntyre kind of, I think at that time, I'm not going to say we're rivals, but they were on each other's radar, right? So I think Kurt ran into some trouble in 11 and 12, and so I can actually remember when he got back and he said, "Hey, would you be interested in maybe riding with me?" And I'm like, "When?" He's like, "Next year." I'm like, "Holy cow!" So we time went on, and so I hooked up with Kurt in 13 all the way to 19, and
Wow.
I was a co-pilot. It was fun. I learned a ton. I was, it was awesome. Kurt, like I said, is a good buddy of mine, and we won, I think, all 7 years. And I thought
That's pretty impressive. That's pretty
yeah,
impressive.
no doubt. But I was just a small part of that, and I mean, obviously, but the thing was, McIntyre was on the other side of the fence, and Kurt was running in different class, and it just seemed like we could never. And I love the competition. I love the competition, and they were both winning, but they weren't. It just wasn't evolving, right? So it was definitely fun, and after that, it was like, man, I'm gonna go do one of my cars. So I went back. We had COVID in 20, so that was a bust. So 21. I started working on a car of mine, and I went back, and I went to Midwest Drags, matter of fact, and out of 14 drag and drives, that was the one I failed in. I failed in Midwest Drags. First day, I had just a simple problem, and that was kind of my warm up to go to Drag Week in 21 with my red car, and so I failed a little bit at Midwest Drags, chalked that up as a learning experience, got ready, went back to Drag Week in 21, and then ended up winning that deal with my small tire red car. And I think that still got the record today. I think I was going 820. I went 830s on the first day, and I'll never forget that. That was, my buddy was next to me in the other lane, and we broke the mandrel off the front of the motor, and the thing went through the guy's window in the lane next to me.
Oh.
So that was a good friend of mine, Chris Roscoe, and thank God it hit the passenger side. I think it hit the passenger side. I mean, the glass went everywhere, and it was a stupid man. He's down at the big end. He said, something flew off your car. And I'm like, what? Nothing flew off my car. And I'm looking at his window, and I'm like, holy Christ. So that was in 21. And we ended up finishing. We pieced together something. Didn't have a vacuum pump the rest of the week, and I think I averaged 840 something with my small tire deal, which took the record. And back then it was Super Street, I think they called it, and then now that's no longer. And I think they call it all motor or something.
Mm-hmm.
So that was back then. And then 22, I didn't drive, but I took both of my kids, and that was probably the best drag week I've ever had, because in 22, Jimmy went with one of my kids and I went with the other, and we switched off between both kids. And they
fun.
both finished. They both finished, and they each had one of my Mustangs. And I think my son, I think he ended up second. I think he ended up second. They called it due to rain on the last day, and I think we had just took over the lead on Friday, and then they scratched Friday because of the rain. So we did that in 22. And then 23, I did 6 summer with the blue car. And then 20, I wanted to go in 24 to 6 summer again, but I just worked. I had a big job going on, and I was registered, but I had to stay out of that because of my work. And then I went back, obviously, to 25 sick weeks. So 14 years, I've had a pretty good run at it.
Man, that's awesome.
I think, with being co-pilot, total of 8 years, 7 with Kurt, 1 with my kids, and then, 6 years of racing myself. So, I mean,
wow.
I've been around it, and that's the funny thing, because Derek Putman, when I met him, I was kind of under the radar when I came out there to 6 summer, because, they weren't expecting that probably. So it was definitely, it's been definitely challenging. I mean, a lot of that goes back, like I said, I ran with Kurt, and I mean, between, co-piloting with him, I think I got, close to, 11 wins. And like I said, we finished 13 out of 14 events. So I'm pretty proud of it, because I don't care what class it is. I don't care what you're doing. Just to finish is an accomplishment. And, and that just goes to, you got to have luck too. I'm going to tell you, you better have good luck, because anything could happen in this deal. Anything can happen.
Am I right? Isn't Kurt Johnson the winningest drag week racer?
Yes, absolutely.
Yep.
Yep. Hands down. I think so. We actually talked today a little bit about this, because I had to brushing up on this. I had to get some of the stuff out from the years past. I think he's got 11 drag week coats. Kurt does.
I think that's right.
I think I got 7 with him. Like I said, 7 with him.
Wow.
And then, but now he's doing different things. And like I said, we're good buddies, but that was always the deal. And he thinks what I'm doing is probably crazy, but, obviously he supports it. And I'm sure, he looks back, and let's face it, none of us are getting any younger, and to do this and to keep, doing it at the level you want to do it, you got to pick and choose your battles. Right. So, and he's got going, but it's definitely been a lot of fun. But the most fun was, like I said, when I took both of my kids to see them both finish it. That was, and Jimmy, and like I said, Jimmy's been my buddy for years. And I mean, perfect example. It doesn't matter if we're going to try to win or if we're going to have fun. He latched on, and with, he's a friend of the family. So it was definitely a good experience.
Well, as we kind of wind down here, I'll give us about another 10 minutes, but what, have your kids been back? Do they race? Are they kind of in it? Are they building cars? What's the next step for them?
Well, the short version of all that is I've been racing with these kids of mine. They're 27 and 22, and I've been racing with them both since they were 5 or 6 years old. So they both raced snowmobiles for years. My daughter then got out of that, and she raced, she raced circle track. We circle track raced for many, many years. She ran open wheel midgets. So I stayed real busy with her. Now she's married with a baby. And so now I've got a grandson. So I've got everything going in the right direction for me on that. My son followed behind then, he raced the snowmobiles, and we've been fortunate enough to I mean, I've been doing this with these kids, and I'm going to tell you, that's probably why I don't own my own concrete business. I just work for a guy, because the one nice thing about it, I got to do a lot of things with my kids, and I'm pretty fortunate for that, because we've raced hard, and no matter what level I do it at, we go to play ball, and we played ball with all of them. And it was really exciting when we played with, when my daughter was racing, because we were pretty hardcore into that too. So,
Yeah.
and then my son, and then, he did the snowmobile stuff. And I mean, for years we had opportunities with that. And I mean, at 15 years old, my son was going 194 miles an hour on a snow, 1,000 feet. Okay. So we played. The one who suffered the most out of the whole deal is my wife, man. 30 some years, and she's seen it all. She's seen it all. Kids since they were 5. I've been racing. I raced motorcycles back in the day, drag bikes, and then got into the cars. So she's seen it all, good, bad, or indifferent, from being upside down and crashing to you name it, we've done it. So
Wow.
this drag and drive stuff is probably the most calm, timid, most fun, simplest deal that I've done. Okay. So, so they have, to answer the questions, they came, like I said, in 22. I think my kids have both seen the commitment that I've done in it. And my daughter would go back into it, but now she's got priorities. My son-in-law is probably, if I'm going racing with anybody, it's probably my son-in-law, because
Cool.
because the kids, my son's just, I think I burned them kids out. we raced too hard for too many years. So they came and watched, and they're big supporters. Don't misunderstand me, but we burned up a lot of diesel fuel and a lot of miles up and down these interstates for many years doing a lot of racing. So.
Wow. Well, Jonathan, I was saying, we'll run for about another 8 minutes here. What are some of the questions you have for him?
And you've really covered all the stuff.
Mhm.
We touched on the changeover and we're atmosphere limited. With it's like you said, you had to change the rocker arms one day because the air wasn't what you need to work with. That's one of the things that I've had to deal with. The humidity plays a big part on my car, more so than air density. So
Yeah, and I can see that now. Is that fuel injected or carbureted?
well, I recently changed to fuel injection, but I'd been carbureted up until last year.
Uh-huh. And
So
and you know what? And with that carburetor back, and I loved them. Don't misunderstand me. I
yeah,
loved it. And shoot, it was even to the point when I was running carburetors, I was changing different carburetors for the street to drive on.
I did the same thing.
Yeah, okay, to race on. So I like either one. Either one works. The simpler deal now is obviously the laptop. Just seems to it. I mean, it's technology, right? It's getting better every day. So, but I do still like old school carburetors. When I did it with, like I said, in 22 with my kids, we took 2 carbureted cars. So I've had both versions of it. It's all whatever you like and what you enjoy, I guess, right? But I do think the weather is trickier with the carburetor.
Yep.
There's no
The
doubt.
the other thing I noticed with the fuel injection is my car picked up a bunch of fuel mileage with the fuel injection compared to the carburetor.
Well, I haven't seen that, but here's what I'll tell you. I think what's killing me is the trailer, and I had a pretty good tune up for the carburetor for the street. Okay,
Yeah,
so that without through the years getting it better, but my mileage isn't the best by any means. Okay, but
yeah,
that, like, this trailer is not light, so I look back at all of it. The 6 Summer, actually, in my opinion, that drive, I know they say it's shorter, and yes, it was.
yeah,
But man, them hills that we did out in Iowa, I'll take that
yeah.
Interstate 75 all day over them damn hills in Iowa.
Right.
That about brought me to my knees, was them damn hills pulling that trailer. So the Interstate was a little more forgiving, for me,
Yeah.
Uh,
That's one of the things we ran into on doing Rocky Mountain Race Week when we're in the mountains. Like
oh,
I've actually not taken my car to do the mountain races because of the converter, and it's spragless, and then got race brakes, and I I just didn't ever think it was the right car to take to do that because it's so much trickier.
Oh, there's no doubt. And, you know, you better look at the whole package because I mean, I've tried spragless. I've done both spragless. And when you talk about, like you say, Rocky Mountain, I mean, that would be a cool, that has my interest. I'm not going to lie.
Yes.
And
Yeah.
a cool event. And I do have the trailer brakes on the trailer and all that because obviously I don't want to burn up my good stuff. You could throw the trailer brakes away. Those are throwaway items, you know, so you
Right.
can
Right.
put,
Exactly. Yeah.
and it's just, that's a good safety deal for me. But,
Yes.
and that's the deal. Sometimes you need to step out because I know there's a lot of other cool drag and drive events out there. And I may do that with, you know, even a milder car just to go do it because, man, the best highlight of my whole sick week, and this means probably nothing, but it meant something to me. I met the day before it started down there in Georgia. I met 7 guys in an elevator at the hotel that were from Canada, and they were talking to me. And I'll tell you that story. I have that story of meeting these guys, and they became fans of ours, Jimmy and I, and they came to the pits every single day. And there was a group of 7 guys, and these dudes, man, they made our week because they were there every day. They were there cheering. They were good guys, and they were all friends, man. And I'll never forget the 7 guys I met in the elevator that became our biggest fans. And
Yeah.
you look back at this, and that's what is cool about all the different stuff. Yeah, I know I'm a fierce competitor, but at the end, that is what made it fun, and that's what made them sleepless nights all worth it, you know. And
Oh yeah.
pull in,
Absolutely.
you know, when you pull in on that last day, and like I keep saying, I don't care if it's 6-second car, I don't care if it's a
Yeah.
13-second car. You better
Yeah.
look at everybody in there all the same because we're all doing it,
Oh.
Yeah.
you know.
Yeah, there's I want to just run around and hug everybody, and like I'm meeting, I easy stuff, you know. But like when you make it to the end of the week, you're like, "Where's my buddy? Where's my buddy?"
You know, and you know what? I've met, and I'm going to tell you, one of my great friends in here in the last year, my buddy Jerry Sweet. I mean, utmost respect, great, one of the greatest competitors I ever met, and him and his son and his family. And I mean, I watched him last year down there at Sick Week take the crown away in this 3,000-pound class. Yes, and I know my car's not 3,000 pounds, but when I watched him take that, you know, he took that record away, and he did it, you know, with authority, printing tickets down there, running 770s like clockwork. And
Mhm.
that is the stuff that you remember, because I met a friend, which is a competitor, which is my competition. But me and him have become really good buddies. And I mean, he comes over and watches me test when I'm out in Michigan testing my car. So that's
Yeah.
the kind of relationships, you know, you try to find in this. Sometimes you don't find that. Some people look past that, and there's always conflict, right? But that's what one of the coolest things that I've had, and I've been fortunate enough to meet some really great people. But you know, before this is all over, you know, this nice, you know, evening with this interview and you guys doing this and having me on here, it was an honor. But most importantly, and I need to throw this out there, I am surrounded by some of the best people, and I've always had the best people around me. And I want to say, you know, big thanks to the people that helped me, because without them, you're nothing. And Strange Engineering, Excess Batteries, Bellman Oil, VP Fuels, Performance Concepts, HCR Innovations. I mean, Dave Hunt for building this car for me. I mean, Pro Glass, Competition Electronics, Performance Trans, Mickey Thompson, Holly, Menser Motorsports, FTI Converters, Gear Vendors, Wholesale Tire, Glass Tech. I've had some of the best supporters. My buddy Canman Kicks, he supports me at the track, so I look good, you know, with the apparel. I've got some of the best people, you know, around me, and most of all, man, my family puts up with this, because I mean, to do it at the level I want to do it at, people don't quite understand it, and it's a full-time commitment. And I mean, I just want to, you know, I appreciate you guys having me on, but
Mhm.
I got to give credit to the people. And I'm going to tell you, most importantly, my buddy, you know, Jimmy Lopez. I mean, he is my sidekick. He is my engine builder. He built that engine right here in this shop right behind me. And I watched that guy put his heart and soul into everything he did for me. And the proof is in the pudding. And he said it's going to be good. He told me when we left here, he said it's going to be just fine. He said we're going to go do what we do. And I tell you, man, without him, and I mean that because not everybody's going to run hardcore. And I found my guy, and that's important, because it ain't just me, it's everybody around. And I've been fortunate to have that. And Jimmy does know I appreciate his help, because, that's just, you got to have it, without it, you ain't doing this on your own. And if you think you are,
Right.
I did one drag and drive on my own, and I'll tell you, I'll never do that again. And that was in 2007. So it didn't take me long to figure it out.
Yeah. Well, one last question to end the night here with you. Jay Blanchard, Jay Wire Solutions, one of our sponsors, says, could you run 93, or would that be the kiss of death on your combo? And then what's the compression?
Okay, so the answer is, there's people that keep saying you can do it, and yes, you can do it. Not on this engine. I'm not doing it. I don't have the bleed off with the camshaft. I'm 17-to-1 compression, and race fuel's cheap compared to engines, right? So I'm lucky. I'm Jimmy, first off, isn't gonna, it's not even an option, okay? Because I'm not gonna watch what he does to do this and to make it the best you can make it, and then I'm out there rattling it, and detonation's a kind, that's the sign of kiss of death, right? So I'm not going to experiment. Now, I have other stuff that I can do that with, but not this horse. This thing here, I'm not. 93 is not in its vocabulary.
Yeah. Jay says 17-to-1. Hot dang.
So the 93s. You know what the 93s for? That's for the generator and the trailer.
That's awesome. Well, Ed, listen, thank you so much for welcoming me into your pits, welcoming me into the chaos that you bring, man. It was really cool to see that up front and personal. And I've been working this week on a video that kind of is your trip throughout the week of our conversations and stuff like that. If folks haven't seen it, we did I've probably got, I think, through day 3 interviews with you on the YouTube channel. I intend to do the last 2 days, because that was really where we really kind of hit a stride. I feel like we had some great conversations then. So I hope to have that done early next week and go from there, man. Again, thank you so much for coming on. I can't believe we've spent, an hour and 15 minutes tonight talking. I feel like we could go another hour and 15. We haven't even scratched the surface. So I'd love to have you back on sometime.
Well, and I do appreciate you, having me on, and I do definitely appreciate all the coverage, and I really feel for the first time like it actually got recognized, and that's due to people like yourself. And there's a lot of people out there trying to do it, and put it out there. And without you guys, the sport doesn't grow. And look what the sport has done, last 10 years. So that's your guys' hard work and dedication to do it, because without that, I've been there when there was, I don't know, 60, 70 entries. Okay.
Mm-hmm.
At some of them earlier events. Now, what do? They sell out now in minutes, right? And there's 30 some. Come on. So without all you guys pushing it and getting it out there, it's not going to happen. So, and like I said, it's great to, it doesn't matter what form you're doing it in. I don't care if you're doing sick ward. And like I said, the best memory of my sick week was meeting all them guys that were in sick ward that I met in the elevator. So we all put our shoes on the same way, and we're all out there just doing what we love.
That's awesome. All right, sir. Well, again, I would tell everybody where to follow you on Facebook, but you don't have one. So.
No. Under the radar. They're only talking when the scoreboard lights. Then they'll remember you.
That's exactly right. All right, sir. We're going to put you backstage, and me and Jonathan are going to finish this thing out. If you'll stay with us for just a second, I just want to talk to you for just a second. So stay with me.
No problem.
Guys, listen, I can't thank all the guests tonight enough. This is man, it's one of my funnest shows. Dude, we're 2.5 hours into this thing, and I feel like we could go another 2 hours if we could,
I think it's great. This is a great interview, and it gives everybody a little bit of insight of the man that he is and what he's done, and the way he thinks about things. So.
Yeah, and to have him, we had to talk to Tim and Caitlin. That was cool to spend some time with them. Those guys are really, they're some of the hardest working people. And I think that's what's kind of been the cursor all night, is how hard it is to do this at whatever level. Tim's car is obviously fast, mid 7s, low 7s. Matt Rice taking 60 or 70 hours to edit a video that'll come out this Friday. Like, just the level of commitment that people are giving to the drag and drive community right now is stellar, man. I love it. I love it.
Yeah. Eric, I just appreciate you giving me the opportunity to sit in, and I'm sorry to hear about your mom. I hope everything's going all right. I appreciate
Yep.
you.
Yeah, everybody send good vibes towards the White
right.
household. He did message. There are some good things that have come about this evening,
Yeah.
so that's always a huge plus. But they can always use all the extra they can. So, yeah, missed him big time. Jonathan, again, appreciate you for coming on.
I
I
appreciate you
blame a lot
having me.
of this on you. I mean, you are the reason I do a lot of this, and who would have thought in 2013 that we would have gone here, man?
Well, I'm glad you're here. I'm glad that it come to this because you've put in the work and like as you always say, you've nerded out to make it your thing, and I'm proud of you. I'm glad to see you do what you've done.
Well, I appreciate that a bunch, and appreciate the support you've always given, man. We've grown some fun things here. We've raised a shitload of money and
Yeah,
supported
we have.
kids, and we've drag raced a whole lot. So let me
And-
finish this out here, and
yeah,
we'll get back to those guys. Guys, thank you so much for hanging out tonight. Huge numbers all night. I mean, we were at one point probably second or third highest views we've had all like in our history of this. So that's really cool to have guests on, to have a lot of people making comments. Appreciate you guys doing that. We're live on 8 different platforms right now. So that's that's always really cool that we can do something and bring this kind of knowledge that's out there. And we can't do that without you guys. So thank you so much to our race car friends. Thank you for being there. Thank you for the support. Thank you for the comments. Thank you for all the stuff you guys do that make this possible for us. I really appreciate it. And thank you so much to our sponsors. Without those guys, we can't travel. We can't buy equipment. We can't do what we need to do for me to do this all day. I mean, this is literally what I eat and breathe and sleep. This is all I think about. So thank you so much to our sponsors, Summit Racing, Molly Motorsports, Driven Racing Oil, DeatschWerks, brand new sponsor for 2025, Howard's Cams, J Wire Solutions, who is in tonight making a ton of comments. Thank you so much, Jay. WAF Racing, love Chris and the team over there. Performer Built, big new machine, don't even know what it does. We're going to have some fun talking to them. Car Change 3D, shout out to Corey Nicholson. PowerTube TV with PowerFest coming up in June. Going to be some pastime and Pinks episodes that you're not going to want to miss. Man, the Pinks they've got planned for the PowerFest is going to be crazy. Like somebody's winning like 16 cars or 15 cars. Sweet Patina, our first sponsor ever. Thank you so much, Blake and the team over there. And Racing Junk Classifieds. You guys are awesome. See you guys next time, probably this Saturday, I'm guessing. So, all right, later. Bye. All right.